Greetings, I'm Byron Garrett, CEO of Genesys Works. Excited for another leadership conversation with one of our best and brightest from the state of Oklahoma. So today we're sitting down with Claire to talk about all things Genesys Works in Tulsa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to discuss more about Genesys Works and all of our wonderful work.
So I'm going to start with, how did you get to Genesys Works and why? That becomes the big question I ask folks. Why Genesys Works? Out of all the things you could be doing, why are you here?
Yes, so I am a former educator. I spent about a decade in the public school system and loved working with high school students. I taught high school before and was looking for a change and sort of fell upon Genesys Works. Tulsa's inaugural class was right when I transitioned in, so I was able to jump in straight with that group, and I was super excited about the work because I love working with young people, and it's super important to me too to be able to help young people achieve their dreams and move forward on their path. I think as a classroom teacher, I was given the opportunity to do that on a small scale, but now I'm able to impact their lives on a greater scale, and not just their lives, but the lives of their families and their communities, and really help shift perspectives for our students about what their, overall possibilities are.
Yeah. And I'm a former K school principal, so we have that education bond without question. And so what would you tell an educator or a superintendent or a chief academic officer if you're saying, hey, we want to help partner with you on this program? What's the story that we tell folks why they should partner with us?
I think there's something really powerful about workforce development in high school students that they don't get to do on a day-to-day basis.
They're trying to go to work and earn money.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. These students want to go out and get the opportunity to make some money during their school day. But not only are they just making money, they're earning life skills that are going to serve them for the rest of their lives. And so I think it's really important to have those conversations. The goal of schools is to get those students out into the world ready to be where they need to be. And so we are just an extra lift to help get those students from point A to point B with even greater and stronger skills.
So do you think the Genesys program actually helps students become more successful as they navigate that final year of school versus if they were not directly engaged in the program?
Absolutely. Our data backs that up already, that we see higher graduation rates, higher college enrollment rates, and higher earning rates across the board. So we know that that is true from a data perspective, but just from out my own experience, I've gotten to see that with our students who have enrolled in college when they never thought they would have before. One of our first inaugural class of students, he had no clue what he wanted to do, no idea where he was going to go, and because of the supervisors at his internship, pursued a business degree at Oklahoma State and is thriving, and that internship company has already said, we would love for you to return and come be a full-time employee when you graduate. So we know that those things are happening for our students, both in the data and in the real life situations that we see with them every day.
So you get to go from being a high school student to being an intern to graduate, go to college, and now he also has a full-time job at the same place he was doing his internship.
Yes.
So when people talk about career pathways on a national level, you would say that Genesys Works without question has a documented track record of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think without question we have seen it from sites across the country, and even at sites as new as Tulsa that are just in their third year, we're already seeing those outcomes even in the beginning and the infancy of the program.
So what would you say in your mind is the secret sauce? What's the special ingredient? Because other people have some type or some variation program. Career tech education is not new, but what makes Genesys Works so uniquely different?
I think a large part of it is our summer training series. I think that really helps strengthen and hone those student skills and get them prepared to walk into that internship. That's something we have seen as sort of a separator for ourselves in Tulsa from other internship programs, is we really are preparing them, prepping them, getting them ready for day one, and then also providing that year-long support for both the intern and the supervisor to ensure that it's a successful and working relationship. So how can we continue to improve the student skills and also help the supervisor know how best to supervise a high school student, because that may have been something they've never done before, and really what do we need to be looking for, what are we working on to ensure that these students are successful.
And family engagement is one of the best kept secrets, I say, being the former CEO of National PTA. It's one of the best kept secrets in education. Do you find that the student is making this as a solo decision to get in the program, or is it mom, dad, auntie, big brother, someone saying, you need to do this and this is why?
Absolutely. I think we see that a lot. And being able to rely on those trusted adults to encourage students to persevere is critical. We have seen that in the summer where, students may falter a little, and we can rely on those parents to push them to continue, as well as, trusted adults in the school, in their communities, as much as we can get the word out about Genesys Works to those folks, I think is super helpful, because we do see so many people pushing our students in that direction and supporting them, as well as alumni, right? We've seen that too, where, they've sort of become the trusted older sibling or the trusted senior in their school space, right? Talking to their younger peers about what a wonderful experience this is, and sort of being mentors to their younger classmates as well about what a great opportunity Genesys Works is.
Well, in a previous conversation, I was talking with Sharif, who is the oldest of 8 in his family. And so Sharif went through the program. His sister then went through the program. He has another sibling who's currently an intern, and one is placed, right, from a permanent perspective. So do you see that often, or would you expect that to be a trend, that more families turn around and say, you need to do this because look how it's helped me transition in life?
Absolutely. I think, Tulsa, we're new, so we haven't necessarily seen too many siblings yet, but we have seen so many friends and recommendations and pushes. And we hear from our current students, oh, my brother or sister is going to do this when they're in high school. Like, I am making them do this because this was absolutely the right decision for me. And I know that it will be life-changing for them as well. So yeah, I think.
So one final question for you, and I'm gonna ask you to say it in your camera specifically. If you were talking to a corporate partner, and it's not as if you haven't had this conversation before, what would you tell them about why Genesys Works and why they should create slots within their company?
Yeah, I think, for corporate partners, it is a really great opportunity to build a talent development pipeline. First of all, you can get really great students who have already learned your company, already understand your culture for potential employment, like we were discussing earlier with our Williams intern, getting them through. And it's also a great way to develop your internal skills, to learn more about the generation that is coming up into the workforce, and to really get that hands-on experience with them now, to understand what that is going to shift to be like. And also just because, working with these students is an incredibly powerful and engaging time. Not only are you getting a full-fledged employee who is doing the work and is engaged with you, but you also get to share in the development of that student, help that child grow throughout that internship year and really build them as an individual, which is such a joy. And one of the things that we see most from supervisors that they enjoy is really getting to develop and build that relationship and share those successes with those students throughout the year.
And you've heard it right there. We're going to have to leave it there for this conversation with Claire from Tulsa, Oklahoma. But thank you so much for tuning in, and that's why Genesys Works.